Hi there, my name's Martin and I'm 40 years, around about 40 years old, and this is my introduction to the vinyl community. I've been collecting records for probably about 20 years. First record I ever bought was in 1982, and here it is. It's quite embarrassing actually, but this time we'll get it right. It's England World Cup squad from 1982. They didn't do very well actually, they did quite badly. They went out in the first round after not winning a game. Here is the back of it with some footballers with quite bad jumpers on it. And the record, as you can see, is a soccer ball. Okay, so moving on. By the time I got to secondary school, would you like rock or would you like rap? Which sort of group were you in? Were you in the rap group? So here's an example of that sort of thing that would have been quite cool to have liked. Beastie Boys, She's on It. 7 inch. I'm not sure that I have this on an album. B-side Slow and Low is on License to Ill, this record. Or did you want to have a mullet? So here's an example of some mulleted pop stars, which I think actually I had quite a bad mullet then. So Duran Duran, A View to a Kill. This is a gatefold, very nice UK with the James Bond title sequence that it comes from. Okay. Now, even when I went to college, I liked quite embarrassing music, I would have to say. Um, well, anyway, okay, here's Samantha Fox. This is her second album. That's quite a bad cover version of I Can't Get No Satisfaction on it. It's on Jive. This isn't the original one I had. I've got this somewhere. Didn't cost very much, to be honest with you. Yeah, so yeah, it's that. And this one as well, I did have it in a different cover, or maybe even still have it. But this is Stella Mitri's Waking Hours album. It's actually quite a good album. For those of you who don't know, just like a Scottish band, sort of rock, lots of songs about quite depressing love affairs and things going wrong. Big hit was Nothing Ever Happens, and that's on A&M, I think. Okay, moving on, 1990, around about that time, I had sort of dropped out of college and then went to work in a record shop. So that was like pretty much where this journey, I suppose, started, and change of records and liking different things and being exposed to so many different styles and genres. It was actually quite exciting, as I'm sure you can imagine. Just an example of that. Can't remember when exactly, maybe 92, 93 or so. Went to a nearby pub and saw a band called Porcupine Tree, who lots of people on the BC are often talking about. Well, I went to see them in the pub and liked them. This album is very psychedelic, I would say. Up the Downstairs. And then I have another one here, which I must have bought when it came out at the time. Sky Moves Sideways. That's sort of like a pale blue sort of coloured vinyl. I'm not going to get it out now, but I'm sure lots of other people show these on BC. Okay, and then I sort of went through some phases of like sort of liking quite grungy music. In fact, that would have been after the Manchester sort of thing that we had here in England. So went to see this band a few times, Smashing Pumpkins. Unfortunately, this has got a little. You probably can't see it there. Maybe you can, but it has a little tear down in the corner. Not quite sure how that happened, but probably not quite as valuable as it would have been had it been in, minty mint condition. And then another sort of style that I got into, or used to go clubbing a bit, was this sort of very much dance scene. And it's just one example of it. One of the less embarrassing records, I would say, to still admit to actually liking. Um, I suppose it's sort of a little bit like Fatboy Slim or something of that ilk. Higher States of Consciousness, Joss Wink. Can't remember which would be the best mix of it at all. Then yeah, you did have the Manchester scene. So I have a couple of promos that I would have got from working in this record shop. This is Pop Scene, wasn't on an album. Just a one-sided promo from what I can remember. Was a hit in England, as was this. This is Bang. One side is unedited, one side is edited. As you can see, I've got like a food label sleeve on them. Probably going to get into trouble with all of you for nearly touching my records now and such like. There we go. Now, I guess at some point I sort of started to like stuff from my own birth and past. So there I was sort of talking to my mum, and it turned out that a distant or not so distant cousin was in this band. So I got the albums that they did, or the first two as far as I know, and they're actually quite good. They're called Bloodwing Pig. I'm sure people have heard of. I did the rig for the Big Pig gig. This one is on Chrysalis. It's a little bit scratched, but it plays well. It's a gatefold as well, as is this one. It's a head rings out, so it's a pig's head with a spliff. And this is, I don't know, maybe you can tell me, it's just like a different sort of BGO Records label. And then I think I sort of went through a bit of a phase of not really being into records as much. I did sell a few, but fortunately not that many. And then I started a few years ago now, helping out in a charity shop and wanting to do samples and things. And here's a couple of examples of records that I would have found in that period. The Songs of Insects, as it says, six-legged musicians pour forth their shrill symphonies in this triumph of recording and skill. Well, I guess you could say if you've heard one Katydid, you've heard them all, but it's still quite interesting sort of document. I have a feeling, yeah, this is just sort of done by some guys at university, yeah. So it's sort of like a private pressing, I suppose. Here's another example of something that I would have got in the charity shop, possibly when I was helping. I can't quite remember now. This is Bill Cosby, and it's called. He presents Badfoot Brown and the Bunyan's Bradford Funeral and Marching Band. And I sampled one of these on something I did a couple of years ago. High Bish, Shy Bish. The A side is sort of a tribute to Martin Luther King's funeral. And then sort of found some Christian records, which being into that sort of thing and being a Christian is sort of quite interesting to find that you can dig out very interesting things. This is the A side I don't really like. It's just sort of a normal sort of thing. But the B side is this guy called John Ulviska, and it's a mass. So you sort of have the general things like a psalm and a Kyrie and a Gloria and a creed and things. And it's sort of done in the first track has some really cool organs on it, and sort of done like a guy going to a city, being lost, and then he comes across some Christians in a coffee shop. It's the label Avant-Garde. I guess it is quite avant-garde, certainly for its time. This is an Alan Lomax one that he did the field recordings for. pardon me, Negro church music. That's on, sorry, this label here, London Atlantic American Jazz Recording. And there's also a information sleeve in here. Tells you all about the tracks. Very interesting stuff. Next sort of thing I suppose majorly happened in my life was I went to Finland and got married. Here's a couple of examples of Finnish records. They still have very good like second-hand shops and things there. This is a band called Bingo. You seem to be back in the mullet phase again, but yeah, these are really good songs, and they are in Finnish actually, but still, nevertheless, good stuff. Another band, this is sort of a band that would be associated with normal, down-to-earth sort of people that like a drink or two, shall we say. They're just songs almost a bit like Telemetry in that are about love and lost things. This has got two first albums on it there. So that's that one. And then just lastly, because I can sort of see I'm running at 12 minutes or so, just something recent I bought is the M83 album. I really like this. Really good produced record. Expedit shelves there, which I haven't got, but interesting one. These shelves that I have at the back, well, they are IKEA, but somebody just gave them to me, so I just readapted them with making sure that the shelves are the right width apart. And I do have a lot of other records away in storage, so I haven't got quite round to sorting them all out since we moved back to the UK. So that's the end of the first video really, and let me know how good or bad or how interesting or boring it was. Thanks very much. Bye.